Welcome. In front of me is a REALME GT 7T, and today I'll be going over an unboxing along with a quick look at the device and its specification along with the price tag. So anyway, let's just get straight into it. We do have two seals to cut through, so brand new device. At the back, we actually have a couple of information about the phone itself. So we have Dimensity 8400 Max chipset, 7000 mAh battery, 120 watts charge. Sorry, so there is no charger based on the thickness. 6000 nit Pro eSport display. Okay, that's a whatever. IP69, nice, dust and water resistance, and Sony IMX896 optical mid stabilization camera. So now I'm gonna get more into depth into the actual specifications in a moment, but let's first get disappointed by some other things, like the lack of a charger. So in here we have our charging cable, type A to type C, paperwork, and the flimsiest case I have ever felt. There's like no thickness to this. What is this? Garbage. Next we have the phone itself. And that's everything. There's nothing else in here. Okay, so let's get into the device itself. I'm gonna boot it up, assuming it's charged, which it should be. There we go. And let's start off with the display, actually. This is something that you're gonna be looking at all the time. The device has a pre-applied screen protector, so that's good. We have a 6.8-inch display with a resolution of 1280 by 2800 pixels with a minuscule amount of bezel. This is bezels that are rivaling Samsung Galaxy's S25s. We are talking about over 90% screen to body ratio, precisely 91.4, with a pixel density of 453 pixels per inch, also this display being a LTPO AMOLED display, 1 billion colors, 120 Hz refresh rate. So I'm not sure where the esports display is. This is just 120 Hz refresh rate. It's 120 HDR, not 10 plus, so it's not certified, by the way, even though it's AMOLED. And it has a peak brightness of whopping 6000 nits. Now, brightness isn't going to help you in gaming. Just wanted to mention that. Now, with that out of the way, I do want to clarify the display right here is still superb. It is edge to edge with almost non-existent bezels, as you can see. It looks super good. The actual display itself is also really good itself, as it's an AMOLED display with high refresh rate and a actually, really good brightness, peak brightness. I do want to mention it's peak. So typically I think you'll be getting about 1800 nits, but that's still plenty bright for any kind of need. The 6000 nits is peak, and that usually happens when, for instance, you go outside and you have like blasting sun onto your device. It will use the front-facing camera to see that, hey, outside is stupid bright, and it's gonna crank it up to like that, somewhere around the 6000 nit brightness. But moving on, let's flip it over to the back, where we have what looks to be a dual camera setup, but I can already see based on the second lens either that's crappy ultra wide or something not even worth mentioning. Okay, so it is an ultra wide. So the main sensor, being the top one, is the Sony IMX one, and that is a 50 megapixel f1.8 aperture, 24mm wide lens. Then we got that 8 megapixel f2.2, 16mm 112 degree ultra wide. Now with the cameras, at least the main one, most certainly you'll be able to get 4K at 60 frames and 1080p also at 60 and slow motion of 120 with gyroscopic electronic image stabilization and optical image stabilization. So this should be stabilized. So I don't hear too much rattling. Anyway, so That's that. While we're also at the back, I do want to point out the design right here, as it does look pretty classy. So we have a area for the camera right here, the bump. It's relatively compact, as you can see. It's nothing like significant. And the back itself is glass, but it has this kind of like frosted matte black finish. So it looks actually pretty nice. It also feels pretty nice in hand. I also want to point that out. The sides are what looks to be brushed aluminum. So you can hopefully you can see this. Oh, there we go. You can now see it. So it is kind of like this brushed aluminum design. And I'm gonna also just make sure that this are so. Where is the build? Okay, GSM Arena isn't specifying the build. The only thing that they do mention is that the front is covered with a Corner Gorilla Glass Victus 2, and that's about it. But yeah, this looks to be probably aluminum or maybe something even tougher. I'm just, based on look, guessing right here, so take that into consideration as there's no mention right here. But the glass is most likely, or the back is glass. Now let's go into the internals. I do want to point out that the device, before I start talking about the internals, is relatively thin. This is a well, normal sized 6.8-inch phone. It doesn't feel heavier, doesn't feel thicker. It just feels like a normal premium phone, I would say. But it houses a 7,000 milliampere battery. This is like 2,000 almost milliamps more than what the Samsung S25 Ultra has inside. Do you want to actually make sure I am remembering this correctly? 25 Ultra. Yep, it's 5,000 milliamps that the S25 Ultra has, and that device is also 0.1 inch bigger in terms of the display size. So yeah, this one absolutely wins when it comes down to the battery, and the reason that is because Realme, unlike Samsung, isn't stuck behind worrying about their phones exploding, because they figured out that to actually make good batteries and have them charge quickly, we need to invest a little bit more money than give you dirt cheap, piss poor, garbage ass thing that we can find on AliExpress, and then wonder, ooh, why are notes exploding? So yeah, this is using a new battery type, being the carbon silicone battery, and that allows them to have a much bigger capacity battery while still retaining the same footprint that it would normally have as a physical kind of size. So instead of having something like 5,000, we have a 7,000 milliamp battery. Samsung should learn something. Maybe profit isn't that important when your phone has a shitty charge and a premium S25 comes with a measly 4,000 or even less battery. It's embarrassing. So here, pretty good. Now, continuing on, this is where the kind of step down happens. So we have either 8 or 12 gigabytes of RAM, depending on which storage you go for. And also, there's a bit of a shady shit happening here with the storage. So the base entry, the cheapest one you can get, will come with 128 gigabytes of storage and 8 gigabytes of RAM with non-expandable storage. Now, that's not the shady thing. The shady is that the storage here, even though everything is named the same, every model, no matter what the storage is the GT7T, but this one specifically, the cheapest one, will come with UFS 3.1 storage type, and this only extends to the 128 gigabyte model. Any other one, the 256 and 512, will come with a UFS 4.0. Now, if you're wondering, what the hell am I just talking about? I'm talking about the speed of the storage in here, which will be very important when coming to, for instance, read and write speeds for things like the 4K videos that you might be capturing at 60 frames. In general, download speeds, that would be the speed at which, for instance, data is being saved onto the storage and being read from it. So obviously 3.1 is the older type and it's slower than the 4. And the reason I find that kind of a cunt move right here is because there is no discernible difference between them, and similar to what Nvidia is doing with their stupidity, it's just you might as well, thinking logically, you might be, I could just go for the lower end model. I don't need 256 gigabytes of storage. This seems good enough. But then you get shafted by a crappier storage type, which isn't mentioned anywhere. There isn't an info in the box telling me this. It's nowhere listed right here, though. This is the 256, I do want to point out. But even if it was the 128, and even here, you can't see the storage type. So it's not something that you will know unless you go deep searching into it. Screw this kind of business practice. That's not good one. So now moving on, another thing is the processor powering this is the Dimensity 8400 Max. Now this isn't the newest processor, or actually it is the newest processor, but it's not the best processor that you can have on the market. And also not the best one you can get for the price. So this basically sums up the entire device almost. I do have a couple more things that I'm going to talk about, but lastly that I want to touch upon is it's running Android 15 with 6 major Android upgrades right here. So that is a pretty good kind of thing that you're getting right here. Basically what Samsung does with their phones, giving you a 6-year longevity for this phone. That can't complain here. Your phone should be updated and safe for the foreseeable over half a decade. So that's good. It has 120 watts of wired charging and no wireless charging, unfortunately. Under display fingerprint sensor, which obviously isn't visible, and anything else that you expect from a phone at this price range, with the price range here being about 650 euros. So with that being said, I do want to point out something. This device isn't necessarily the cheapest. Let me just make sure that the price is exactly same as it is right there by GSM Arena. So let's check out the official. It's about, let's see. Yep, so the price is correct. It's almost right at the spot. So this is how much you're gonna be paying for this phone, at least at the current time, and that actually talks about the 256 gigabyte model and 12 gigabyte of RAM. Pretty good device. Now, that being said, you can pick out something like the ZTE Nubia Z70 Ultra, which is a camera-focused phone, which will have edge-to-edge display as well with over 91% screen-to-body ratio. Will have a much bigger sensor for photos. It captures just smashing night vision photos with that gigantic sensor. It will have more than 7,000 mAh battery, and most importantly, it would be running the newest processor, being the, or at least from, I think it was 8 Elite. Right? Yep, Snapdragon 8 Elite. So that is basically equivalent to what Dimensity would be having with the 9400 or 9400 processor, but it's being from Snapdragon just a tiny bit faster, I think. Oh, actually, I'm sorry. In terms of battery, it actually would have a smaller battery than this one. Right? Let me just double check because I'm... Yeah, so it would be 6150 milliamps. But all in all, you're going to be having a faster phone, which also comes with 256 12 gigabytes of RAM with UFS 4.0 storage type. So it's also a fantastic phone to think about if you want something that is just a bit faster than this, and most likely has better low light capabilities compared to this one, and just generally better cameras all in all, as it would have 50 megapixel standard lens, 35 millimeter ones, 64 megapixel 70 millimeter periscope telephoto, and 50 megapixel 13 millimeter ultra wide. And with those cameras, you can also spec up to 8K at 30 frames instead of the 4K 60 that we are locked to right here. And at 4K, you can do also 120 frames, while this device only caps at 60 at 4K. So I'm pointing that out because the prices of these devices are basically the same. The only difference is for the ZT, probably the best place you can get it would be AliExpress. So you know, that might deter some people. I got it there and the phone was fine. I was using it for some time and the phone was fantastic. So I recommend checking that out also if you are interested in a good phone. And fun thing is it has a completely edgeless display at the front with no visible camera cutout like we have right here, as the camera is under the display with the pixels actually showing color over the camera when you're not using it. The selfie game will suffer though. I do want to also clarify this. So the selfie on that phone will not be as good. But all in all, both of the phones seems to be great. I personally think that the ZT might be just better just because you're getting a faster phone with better cameras at the same price. But that's about it. So if you found this very helpful, don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and thanks for watching.